Now moving over to the Biden camp, a Hunter Biden bombshell released just days away from the first presidential debate. Two GOP senators share breaking information from their ongoing investigation. Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee Chairman Ron Johnson and Senate Finance Committee Chair Chuck Grassley raising concerns about Hunter Biden's role on the Ukraine-Burisma board. We talked about this on OAN and his criminal ties to activity over there. Hunter's work for the Ukraine gas company made U.S. officials pushing for anti-corruption policies in Ukraine extremely uncomfortable. Democrats now say that they'll release their own report, retracting the claims after the 87-page report was released today. Reports share that Hunter received $3.5 million in wire transfers from the wife of former Moscow mayor and paid non-resident women who were nationals of Russia or other Eastern European countries who appear to be linked to the Eastern European prostitution human trafficking ring. We got more and more on this. You know that One American News has been tracking this story, so we'll continue to bring you updates. All right, now on to a guy who has been I'll just call him a Spitfire on the Hill, an American politician, a lawyer, representative for Florida's 1st Congressional District. Matt Gaetz joining Real America for the first time. Matt, thank you so much for coming on the program. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
So, first and foremost, it's the battle for SCOTUS. We had your friend on, Lindsey Graham, a few minutes ago to talk about it. Your thoughts, and I know, let me set this all up first. I know your side and the other side over the past few decades have fought this. Last year, the president not confirming or confirming SCOTUS, so we don't need to go there. All I care about for the American people is, what does the law say? And I've made everybody reiterate this since this began on Monday. The law states what? It's the president's job, right?
Yeah, the president is to nominate and the Senate is to advise and consent. I've double-checked the Constitution. There is no fervent final wish section of the Constitution to honor the late Justice Ginsburg's request that the next president fill her vacancy. We are obligated to follow the Constitution, to fulfill our oath. And I think if there are Republicans in particular who refuse to do that, who take for granted the Trump supporters in their states, that maybe votes ought to be withheld from those senators if they in fact withhold their votes. I think it's crazy for Murkowski and Collins to be saying that they won't take this vote before the election in a favorable way to the president's nominee. I am glad to see it appears we have a majority, we have the power, and Mitch McConnell intends to use it to seat the president's nominee on the court.
This is called dereliction of duty. I'm a vet. If somebody gives you an order, you do your job. Their order is to follow the Constitution. They don't get to recuse themselves and say, we don't want to vote until the next president comes in. Doesn't make any sense. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because we don't want to diminish the 27 years of great work of Justice Ginsburg. She was an icon for women across this country. She did an amazing job, whether you agree with her politics or not. But in her 2016 interview with the New York Times, she stated plainly that a president is supposed to nominate and get their pick for the Supreme Court in, even if it's the last year or last day of their presidency. So a dying wish and the Democrats' wish to stop this doesn't mean squat. It's the law that matters. Right, Matt?
It is, but it sure shows us a lot about these Democrats. You know, we heard for 3 years from Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer that Donald Trump was shaking the foundations of our institutions and he was threatening to violate democratic norms. And now, just in a lust for power, Democrats on Capitol Hill are talking about packing the Supreme Court, about lobbying an impeachment of Bill Barr into the Senate to create a procedural jam on a vote on the president's Supreme Court nominee, and even adding states to the country so that they can pack the Senate. Those are the types of actions that I think play to the worst undemocratic impulses of people who are willing to justify just about anything if it means they get more power.
Yeah, this reminds me of somebody when you're playing sports or something, and in the middle of it, they want to change the rules. And literally, that's what I see the Democrats doing. And I'm hoping that the American people and the folks that are on the fence, because there's still a lot of independent, libertarian-type voters out there that maybe haven't made their mind up in 41 days or so, right, to go. I don't see how you look and see what they're doing. They don't like the way things are going, so they want to change the rules in the middle of it. You can't do that. And if you want to, you have to make an amendment to the Constitution. And we know how hard that is to get done. But you can't just say, let's add more senators. We'll make Washington, D.C. one of the most corrupt cities in this country. We want to turn that into a state and add, what, 2 Senate seats? We know they'll go Democrat because of the folks that live there, right? Are they trying to get 2 seats, they said?
They'll get as much as they possibly can, and to those maybe conservative or liberty-leaning voters out there who the president might not be their cup of tea, what I would say is, like, imagine if Hillary Clinton would have been president. What type of Supreme Court justices would we have gotten under those conditions? If Hillary Clinton had 3 picks to the U.S. Supreme Court, you would be looking at a court reshaped for a generation away from their constitutional duty of reviewing the law and interpreting its validity under our rights. They would be trying to make the law and trying to usurp democratically elected legislatures in the United States Congress. So I'm glad that we're going to have a court shaped by Trump that will vanguard the rights of our fellow Americans, and his impact on the court will be a legacy that lasts well beyond the fervor of his tweets.
So the president will announce his pick on Saturday, he says. He's doing the right thing. I've said this on the show since Monday. He's doing the right thing by letting the nation mourn the loss of Ginsburg, and then he'll announce. Then I would assume the public hearings will start, which, by the way, folks, and Matt, you can maybe confirm this for me. Back in the day, we didn't even have public hearings. This was something we added down the road. The Senate would just confirm. Matter of fact, I believe one justice way back was confirmed in like 1 day. So these public hearings were added, I think, in the 30s or 40s to let the American people see the process. This is probably going to be close to, and I hope not, worse than the Kavanaugh hearings. But whichever woman the president nominates, what do you think we can expect from the Democrats when it comes to the drilling and the grilling on these, I'm sure, televised public hearings?
So there have been some strategy meetings on the Hill today when my fellow Republicans have asked me, well, maybe we should just go straight to a floor vote based on just the absolute circus that the Democrats turned the Kavanaugh confirmation into. I disagree with that assessment. The president is going to pick a phenomenal, impressive woman who has a record as a jurist that is consistent with our values and principles. That is true across the board regarding the candidates he's currently considering. And I think we're going to want to showcase our nominee. I think we're going to want to show the president's good decision-making skills on display in open hearings. And you know what? I think the Democrats are very likely to overreact. I think they're likely to do just what they did to Judge Kavanaugh and go on such an offensive against someone's personal life or their character that the voters are turned off by that and that they wouldn't trust those Democrats with power in the upcoming election.
Yeah, and what I've read about the 2 ladies that are on the short list, they're going to have to dig to find anything nasty or make stuff up, because these 2 ladies look like they are above the fray, above the political D.C. swamp and BS. They follow the rule of law, which is what we would expect out of a justice serving in our highest court. With just a minute left, got to ask you about the election coming up, the first debate next Tuesday. That's going to be an interesting one, watching the energy that the president has and the lack of energy Biden has. But I want to ask you your feelings on voter fraud, because we're already hearing in some of these primaries and small elections, mayoral races, council races, where this mail-out ballot thing is not working. What are Republicans doing to try and assure that every vote counts and only each vote counts, not extras?
In most states, we have a backstop. In Florida, we have a Republican governor able to vanguard the validity of the election. In North Carolina, we have a right-leaning Supreme Court that I think will stop voter fraud. Where I'm most concerned is Pennsylvania, where each and every ruling seems to erode the integrity of the vote more. And if there are millions of ballots out across the country that are unaccounted for, I fear that Democrats will try to extend a period of uncertainty beyond Election Day. Donald Trump's going to win on Election Day. We know that. They know that. And so they're trying to delegitimize that win by creating uncertainty afterwards.
All right. Matt Gaetz, thank you so much for joining Real America. Come back anytime. We appreciate your insight. I know you got work to do. You're there in the rotunda. Get back at it, sir.
Thanks so much. I got a book out today, Firebrand. I hope people check it out.
Okay, Firebrand by Matt Gaetz. Appreciate it, man. Keep that fire going. I love seeing your speeches in those committees because you just stick it to them. Just keep it going. Keep fighting for real Americans.
We'll turn it up.
Thank you, Matt.